Why does 90% of meal prep taste terrible by Wednesday? Well, it comes down to 3 problems: dry chicken, clumpy rice, and a soggy veg. Today, I'm going to show you how to fix all 3. This is Korean barbecue chicken meal prep. It lasts 4 days, tastes incredible, and today I'll show you exactly how to make it while explaining the science behind why it works. And this is all of the ingredients we're going to need, plus a couple of extras, which I'll run you through shortly. Let's start with the chicken marinade. So into a bowl goes 60 grams or 1/4 cup of Gochujang paste. Next, 45 milliliters or 3 tablespoons of low sodium soy sauce. Add 20 grams or 1 tablespoon of honey. This just adds a little bit of sweetness and helps the glaze caramelize. Then 10 milliliters or 2 teaspoons of toasted sesame oil. Grate 3 cloves of garlic along a microplane to create a paste. Also doing the same with 10 grams or 0.3 ounces of ginger. Add the garlic and ginger into the marinade and then mix everything together with a whisk. Just make sure that garlic and ginger is broken down and the gochujang is completely mixed through. And then what I have here is 1 kilo or 2.2 pounds of boneless and skinless chicken thigh. Add that into the marinade and then mix this all together. Make sure everything is nicely coated, get in all of the little nooks and crannies, and leave this to marinate for at least 15 minutes. The sugars and starches in the glaze caramelize when cooked, forming a sticky coating that locks in moisture. Onto the veg. Most prepped greens go soggy in a day, so instead we'll make a quick pickle. Take about half of a cucumber, trim off the ends, and then slice this into thin rounds. Try and make sure that it doesn't all roll off the bench like what mine is, but we want these to be about 3 millimeters thick, that's about 1/8 of an inch, and keep your slices even so that they pickle consistently. For the carrot, use 1 large carrot and we can peel the skin. You can just leave it unpeeled if you prefer, just make sure you give it a wash. Take off both top and bottom and then slice this in half to make it a lot easier to work with. Take one section, place it flat on the board and slice off a little piece so that it can sit on the board without wobbling, and slice it lengthways into thin strips about 2 millimeters thick. Stack a few of those strips on top of each other and then cut them lengthways again into thin strips, and this gives us those fine matchsticks, also known as Julliened. Lastly, we need 2 spring onions or scallions. Slice them in half, separating the white root from the green stem. I was initially going to use the green stem only for garnish, but I thought why not use the white stem and add it into our pickle as well. So what I'm doing here is slicing them into thin rounds. With the green stem, slice this on an angle to create a nice oval or diamond shaped piece, and I'm using these as a garnish. If you don't want to go out and buy a whole bunch just to use 2, you don't have to. This is completely optional. In a bowl, combine 60 milliliters or 1/4 cup of rice vinegar, 1 teaspoon or 4 grams of sugar, and half a teaspoon or 5 grams of salt. Add the cucumber slices and carrot matchsticks, as well as the spring onion if you've decided to use them. Toss them through the liquid and let them sit for at least 10 minutes. The vinegar lowers pH, which slows spoilage, and the acidity with the crunch keeps the meal tasting fresh. When everything's mixed together, this can be put in the fridge until we're ready to serve. Next is the rice. I'm using 300 grams or 1.5 cups of raw jasmine rice that's been rinsed under cold water, adding in 550 milliliters of cold water, as well as a pinch of salt if you like to season your rice. In the other pan, also add 1 tablespoon of sesame seeds, which is an optional step. Take both of these over to your stovetop, place the rice onto the largest burner and then the sesame seeds on a small burner. Place the rice over a high heat, give it a quick stir to prevent any clumps and then bring it up to a boil. In the meantime, put the sesame seeds over a medium-high heat and toast these for about 1.5 to 2 minutes until they're nice and golden. They have that really nice nutty aroma, and we can then remove these from the pan and allow them to cool. When the water's at a boil, place on a lid, reduce the heat to low, and let this cook for 12 minutes undisturbed. Now for the chicken, place a large pan over a medium-high heat and add in 1 tablespoon of peanut oil. Once hot, lay in the chicken thighs flat side down and don't overcrowd the pan. Cook this in batches if needed. I know it does look like I have overcrowded the pan here, but you only live once, right? And I got the color that I needed. Cook this for about 3 to 4 minutes on the first side until caramelized, and then flip and cook for another 3 to 4 minutes and lower the heat slightly if the glaze starts catching. One little tip as well is a lot of people just continue with the medium-high to high heat the whole way through the cooking process. Once you've got the color, slightly reduce the heat of the pan to about a medium and just let the internal temperature rise and for that chicken to cook. Once you have the color, you don't need any more, and if you do keep going, it's just going to burn, so always lower the pan's heat when you need to. Once both sides are golden and sticky, you should have a really nice color with that tiny little bit of char. That's exactly what we want. We can remove this from the heat and allow it to rest for about 5 minutes. Once the rice has been cooking for 12 minutes, take it off the heat and leave the lid on for another 4 minutes, and this resting stage finishes the steaming without burning the base. Add in those toasted sesame seeds along with 2 teaspoons or 10 milliliters of toasted sesame oil. Get in there with a spoon, a spatula or a fork and fluff the rice up until nice and soft and fluffy, and then we can pop this aside until we're ready to serve. Once the chicken's rested, transfer it to a chopping board and slice this into thin strips. You can even dice it or even leave them whole, that choice is all yours. And once sliced, add them back to the pan so they can pick up any remaining juices. Now it's time to portion everything. I'm using 5 750ml meal prep containers from Lavelli. You can either simply divide all of the rice, chicken and veg evenly between the 5 containers, or if you want to be more precise, you can weigh the cooked amounts and then portion them out for accuracy. Start with the rice, placing it neatly on one side of the container, and then layer the sliced chicken right over the top, as well as any remaining pan juices. That way, when you reheat it, the juices from the chicken keep the rice from drying out. On the opposite side of the container, add the pickled cucumber, carrot and spring onion and remove most of that pickle brine. We don't want that seeping around or swimming around at the bottom of the container. Finish each container with the finely sliced spring onion stems over the chicken, and you can even add a wedge of lime here if you like that extra acidity. These will keep in the fridge for up to 4 days. If you're using a vacuum sealer, you can stretch that out to about 5 days, and for longer storage, freeze them for up to 3 months. Just keep that pickle separate and add them fresh after reheating. Then here's the breakdown of the macros per portion with the remaining nutrition facts as well as the full written recipe in the link in the description. So there we have 5 balanced portions, setting ourselves up for the week. There's no excuse to have plain boring meal prep anymore. You've got that soft juicy chicken, the soft fluffy rice and then a nice crisp vegetable. There is only one thing left to do though, and that is we can then dig in. Delicious.